Welcome, everyone. My name is Natalia Herrera, and I'm greeting you from chilly Chicago. I'm thrilled to have you join us today because New and Now is back with our partners at Zoom. And we're ready to dive into a very interactive session where we're going to talk about the future of AI enhanced workspaces with Craig Ishii and Felipe Henao. They're joining us from our Logitech HQ in San Jose, two of my favorite voices who will walk us through live demos, announcement, new features, newly certified devices. So I can't wait to hear from them. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. Know that this session is being recorded, so you will get a note from us and an email following up with the recording if you want to rewatch it, because we have a lot of things that we want to share with you today. And also, you can share this recording with any of your colleagues that you think will find it good to listen to, and there will be additional resources for you also to dive into. And if you ever want to sign up with to our New and Now sessions, just look for additional information on those notes because there's a lot of things that we share throughout the year. So we definitely want to keep you informed. You can sign up for our series in that communication. So with that, let's jump into the Getting Inspired with Butter together with Zoom, and I'll throw it back to Craig and Felipe, who will be walking us through the agenda today.
We are excited to be here. I'm joined by Felipe from Zoom. So Craig, Logitech, Felipe, Zoom. You excited about today?
I'm super excited, Craig, to be here at Zoom headquarters. Always a pleasure to visit you guys.
So we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about, and we're going to start small, not necessarily small in impact. We're going to start small with devices, and then we're going to move over to Rallyboard 65. But we're going to look at actually a couple. So we have two Rallyboard 65s here in this room, and we're going to talk about a couple of really unique deployments that are very specific to Zoom, and it's super exciting stuff.
Yes, let's go for it.
Okay, so we've got our cameraman Carlo here. We've got Andrew in the back, kind of doing some video coordination. We've got Felipe and I, so we're gonna do a lot of magic here. Let's go ahead and bring the camera over this direction.
Come and follow us.
And where I wanted to start first is we introduced a couple of devices, but we also introduced some new features on Zoom as well.
Okay.
So let's talk about Zoom Contact Center first. And we're gonna show off these two devices, which are Zoom Contact Center certified, along with our Zone Wireless headset. Sorry, not Zone Wireless, Zone Wired headset as well. But Felipe, let's talk about Contact Center for a bit.
So Contact Center is one of our newest products. It's been around for about 3 years. It's been definitely growing steadily, and we're proud to say that we have made so much progress with the product that in just 3 years of existence, we finally made it into the Gartner, Magic Quadrant. So we are there. We're seeing a lot of success with the product. A lot of large enterprises as well have adopted us. So it is very feature rich. One of the reasons why we are very different in the marketplace is because with Zoom, everything starts at the video level, which is the hardest thing to do. A lot of our competitors start on voice, and then they kind of start climbing that really steep ladder into video. Because we are a video platform first, and everything starts at the hardest point, which is video. It's easy for us to kind of work our way down in order to do some voice capabilities. But the coolest thing about it, Craig, is that this is also a video contact center. So now we are bringing video into the contact center world, and people cannot be more excited about it because now you can have that personal, service with that people are yearning for. Seeing an actual human talking to them. So for those organizations that want to enable video contact center, nothing better than Zoom Contact Center.
So I want to double click a little bit of corporate talk here. I want to double click on Contact Center and some of the features. So, for folks on the call, our employees, they're used to using Zoom. We know how to mute, unmute, share a screen, control slides, etc. But what are some of the unique features to Contact Center? Because I know you folks have really thought about that and baked a lot of it into the platform as well. Tell me about that.
So AI is in really keeping the continuity of information as far as when you're dealing with a customer. So a lot of the information as far as perhaps a customer that is a repeat customer or is a repeat caller with the same issue, all the documentation is actually recorded, in our AI features within Zoom are able to really start now divulging a lot of information to perhaps a new agent that comes in, and they don't have to ask all these questions again from a client that is calling. Usually when people call a contact center, it's because they're having issues. They're not calling just to say hello. So for them to having to repeat themselves multiple times, it can be really aggravating. So the fact that Zoom can really offer a summary as to the previous interactions with this customer, perhaps open tickets, things like that, really helpful for that agent in order to keep dealing with that customer. So not only we're basically just documenting, but we're also summarizing, and we're also archiving, and really providing a lot of insight to those agents when they're dealing with an agent. So really great things that we do, as well as really easy to deploy and really easy.
Of course. I think that's really the favorite part, is that when you think about an employee, right, and they have the Zoom experience, it's so simple to just log on. You've got the meeting controls at your fingertips. Everybody knows how to use it. You're ready to rock and roll.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And for the administrators too. So for them to deploy and for them to know that it's always going to be reliable, and it's something that is a piece of infrastructure that they have that is, again, not where you're not going to need a lot of professional services in order to get it done, but that you yourself can service it and have full domain of it, priceless.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's talk about the Logitech part of the story for just a bit.
Let's do it.
So we have different lines of products, different groupings of products that we like to call core and advanced. We've also have Ergo line of products when it comes to mice and keepers, but I really want to focus on advanced and core. So as part of our core line, we came out with our Zone 305 headset a while back. We also came up with our Zone Wireless 2 headset as part of our advanced line. And Felipe, if you just want to hold it here, you can kind of see just a little bit of a difference. The weight is a little bit different. One's got a different build than the other. And again, depending on the type of user and what companies want for their employees or their contact center folks, there are going to be different functionalities in the devices,
Absolutely.
right? So one of the things that's shared about both that I love is we've got this articulating boom mic, right? On his, it actually goes either way because we wanted to make the headset, I guess, ambidextrous, if that's the right word. I know that's usually right-handed than left-handed. But we wanted to be able to provide an experience where you bring the microphone arm down and you're unmuted. You bring that microphone arm up, you're muted. So that's not something that the user has to think about. It's just an automatic part that's connected into
I love
headset.
the fact that it kind of clicks. So it kind of gives that cue. Like, okay, you're muted.
You're
not
good.
muted
You're
anymore.
good. But again, it's that integration with Zoom that makes that special, and why the certification matters is that you can know that as you purchase these headsets for your employees or for your users, that they're going to get this functionality and it's going to just work with Zoom.
Craig, you mentioned certification. So really, really important in the Zoom world, every single piece of hardware that interacts with the Zoom platform is certified. So control, so all these buttons that you see here actually have a purpose within the Zoom platform. And the reason why Logitech, which you are our oldest partner as far as devices come, now with that, they're able to go through our certification process, make sure that Zoom provides all the software and basically all the different things that are needed in order to enable all these buttons and all this functionality. So these devices are now just part of the platform. It's an extension of those users where people don't have to go back to the user interface. They can just interact with their own device and then make things happen on the platform.
Right. So when we think about enabling our employees, Felipe talked about the software really enabling a seamless experience. So we've got AI for contact centers that are really helping to provide context. We, of course, have all the standard Zoom features that are creating that really flawless and seamless video conference, not conference, call center and connected experience. But as you have headsets where you have even more buttons and features there to make that experience easy for users, that's really where the story then comes together from a hardware side and a software side. We've got the features, but we've also got the integrations on the hardware side to be able to make that fast and simple as well.
I cannot overstate, Craig, how personal of a decision buying a headset is, especially for those people using it. And the fact that you're creating a big portfolio to give people choice is incredible.
Now, we've talked a lot about the outside of the device. We've talked about, I want to kind of just talk about this. So we talked about the microphone, we talked about the buttons, but there's a lot of software features that have been baked into this device that make it special. And we actually wanted to. So Carla, when we bring the camera over here and talk, I want to talk about two of these new products here. So this is the new and now webinar. So we have stuff that's new and now. And one of the things that we heard is we wanted to take even really the form factor. We wanted to take the form factor, the look, the feel, but also a lot of these baked in software and intelligent features within the Zone Wireless 2 and bring it to a more core option. So we recently introduced our Zone Wireless 2 ES. ES stands for Essential, as well as our Zone Wired 2 headset. And really, these are basically a very similar headsets, but one is a wired version, one is a wireless version. And the idea here is, again, we're getting really very similar form function, but something that I love about these devices is you're going to get active noise cancellation on the devices, but you're actually going to also get sound removal, forget the actual term, but the sound removal as you're speaking as a person on this end. So let's imagine these scenarios where you're in a room, maybe you've got the dog barking in the back, you've got the kids running around, you've got some noises from the kitchen that are happening. We're going to be able to not only help to block out that sound so that you can focus into the meeting, but we're also going to help to block out some of that sound as you're speaking during the meeting. So what you're hearing comes through clear and what you're saying comes through clear as well.
You're addressing both the hearing and the speaking.
And that's one of the essential features that's going to be part of these devices. And one of the other things that we also wanted to do with the devices is make them even more comfortable. So one of my favorite parts that seems really, really, really simple, but I can tell you, I've been using this device very regularly, not this white version. I've been using graphite at home, and we actually have 3 colors. We have white, we have graphite, and we have pink.
My daughter
as
loved
well.
the pink one.
That's great. But one of the inspirations that we took from our Logi G side, or our gaming side of the organization, was the idea of this very simple headband. And you would be surprised that because the distribution of the weight and the pressure, and we actually do heat maps of people's heads, right, to show exactly where that pressure is. Because of the distribution that the headband provides, it actually is a lot more wearable, very comfortable to wear just throughout the day.
Awesome. Awesome. We, again, with anything Zoom, these devices are fully certified into the platform. They work great with our meetings client. And again, all these controls that you see here actually have a purpose within the platform. So take time to learn your devices and what it does with Zoom. It can actually save you a lot of time.
So let's talk about one last thing that I like to talk about with this device that's a physical feature of the device, is that if we look closely here, not sure if I can just bring that a little bit close, but this headband is actually removable. In addition to that, these ear cups are actually removable. And the idea for this is that when it comes to headsets, we wanted to provide a sustainable way for companies to be able to circulate headsets even as employees start to leave, right? So one of the things that we think about is, let's imagine you've got an intern. They're sitting at a desk and maybe you've got an intern program, 20 interns. Maybe we want to let them keep the headset at the end. That would be great. But if you don't, you have an option to just simply replace the ear cups, replace the headband, and then you basically have a brand new headset.
Yeah. Sanitize it, service it.
Well, you don't even need to sanitize because we're just going to replace those ear cups right after, right?
Yep.
You can sanitize too. I think that's an even more affordable option, right? But we wanted to provide different options to really have a sustainable option so that as employees come and as they go, we have the option to basically renew the headset.
Awesome. Awesome. Great feature. I've seen a lot of these in the past just get thrown away because somebody leaves the organization. There's no way to kind of refurbish them. The fact that you can refurbish and then kind of repurpose them really, really responds to a lot of needs that we have today. So awesome.
Okay, now what I want to do here is I want to just talk about a couple more products that came out. So we recently came out with a new Signature Slim keyboard, but what I wanted to do first is I wanted to track a bit of the story here. So as part of our core line of products, again, we wanted to have products that were both great for our users, but also affordable for companies as they're looking to mass deploy. Our Signature Slim keyboard, which I'll bring a little bit closer to the camera here, was really one of the first ones that we came out with. So Signature Slim, it's got that laptop style typing experience. It's got a lot of programmable keys. It's got the full numpad here on the right-hand side. This was our first one that we came out with. Wireless, charge it. It's got cable in if you want, but people love this keyboard. But we also had some feedback from organizations. One of the pain points was, okay, if I have wireless solutions, who's in charge of charging them, right? That's always kind of a big question.
Yep.
And so we then released a version of our Signature Slim. In the same way we've got a version of our Zone headset here that's also wired. We wanted to release a wired version of our Signature Slim combo as well. And so this is Signature Slim. Pretty much the same keyboard, but has also got wired so that nobody has to be in charge of plugging it in. But we also had organizations who then said, yeah, but I still like it wireless.
That one blew my mind, Craig.
So let's talk about the Signature Slim Solar Plus keyboard. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, right? Signature Slim, see, even I have a hard time saying Signature Slim Solar Plus keyboard.
Triple S Plus.
You're saying very similar keyboard, but we've got this here. And what this is going to facilitate, I'm going to bring this a little bit closer, is it's going to facilitate what we call Logi Light Charge. And so, Carlo, if we look right in the background, we've got lights here, we've got lights there. The beauty of, you can even just take a look at this room here, the beauty of Logi Light Charge and with the Signature Slim is that you do not have to sit by a window. It does not need actual solar charging. So it is a solar keyboard, but you don't need sunlight for it. Any light that you have in the room that's over 200 lumens is actually going to charge the device. And so in a room like this, which actually has no windows, we can deploy this keyboard at desks all over this room. And these lights that are right here are actually going to charge the device. And we're so confident about that there's actually no USB port on the back to charge it yourself, because this with a full charge is going to last up to 4 months, but it's also going to be constantly charged in an environment with light anyway. And if you happen to have no light, it's still going to function for a very long time. And one of the fun facts that I like to call it is, let's imagine you just put this in a box and there's of course, no light that's coming into the box. If you take it out of the box, even 10 months later, 9 months later, the device is still going to work.
That's awesome.
So we're so confident in Logi Light Charge with this device that's how it's designed.
Awesome.
And then last, and also forgot to call it the reason why it's here, Zoom certified.
Yes.
But let's talk about this last one here. So Felipe and I were just talking about this earlier. We recently released MX Master 4. One of the fun facts personally that I mentioned when we first introduced this on our Next Up session, maybe about a month back, is that I have owned and used every single MX Master that Logitech has ever produced, even long before I came to the company, because it is that fantastic of a mouse. The form factor has not changed really all that much because it has always worked. But some of the big changes on this device are we've changed the material on the outside to be a lot more stain resistant. That was a big one. We still have quiet click technology. We still have that mag speed scroll where you're going to feel those clicks, but it's going to be real smooth. We've got programmable buttons on it. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to with Zoom is how this haptic feedback on the side here is going to begin to interact with our video conference platforms.
Nice. Like anything, you know, with Zoom, I love the fact that you have a lot of controls at your fingertips with this mouse. Again, I've been flirting with this thing for a while. I love this thing.
Okay, so enough about personal devices. We're going to take a look at Rallyboard 65. But Felipe, I want to look at it in a very, very unique deployment. So yes, we are going to show Rallyboard 65 and how it works in an open space, in a meeting space. But the way that we've set this up here is as a kiosk. And so let's imagine that this is just sitting right here at the front of the office. Felipe, let's just look through some of the options that we've put here.
Perfect. So first, let me mention that with Zoom Rooms, we have multiple different provisioning profiles, whether that's a digital sign, whether that's a scheduling display. Here we have something that we call kiosk mode. It's been around for a long time. For some of you on the call, perhaps you're familiar with this. However, there's a couple of new options that we added in the last, probably the last 10 to 12 months. So let's start with the most traditional one. This is where this project started. You know, around 21, 22, a lot of our customers were telling us, hey, we can't really have people interact with, with personal, just be there and interact with people. How can we have still that personal touch where they actually get a human, but the human is not being exposed? So we created a one button to push experience where we have the receptionist button here. This can be configured to up to 6 buttons, and those buttons can be routed to multiple different subject matter experts or different types of help. So we can have janitorial, security, receptionist, whatever the case may be. All that can be set up here, and you can have multiple people associated with that. When we hit the meet the receptionist, as you can see, the call is launched, the camera opens, and then immediately the call is routed to somewhere in Zoomland in order for them to answer the call and get us. Not sure if we're going to get somebody here. Hopefully we do, but if not, no worries. But again, this is something that we actually can do very, very easily. That I hung up. We don't really have anybody at Zoom answering, but here, again, easy for you to route that. So not something new, something we've been doing for a long time. But for those of you that didn't know that this feature existed, just basic virtual receptionist, an incredible feature, leverage all over the place. Craig, what else? Do we want? Do we have? So go ahead.
So what I like to focus on when we tell this story first is I like to focus on the people come into the office who are not our employees. So I think you gave one great example of persons walking in. They need to be greeted by someone. We want them to have a good experience in the office. We got receptionists. I do want to call out before we move to the next one, because you're going to see some of the functionality of the device too, is the beauty of Rallyboard 65 being the kiosk is that we've got speakers, microphone, camera system, 65-inch touchscreen. And so as Felipe interacted with receptionists, as he clicked or pressed meet receptionist, now we're using the entirety of the device. We don't have to plug in other things. It's just there, ready to work.
The response time of the 65 is incredible too. It's just the way when you touch it, immediately response, which we see in other products. Again, not be up to par to how responsive the 65 is. So very, very happy to see that doing with our product.
Now we're also going to have people where we kind of need to know who they are.
Exactly.
So let's talk about visitors for a second. Again, non-employees. We're focusing on the non-employees part of kiosk first, but let's do that.
So it's very common when you enter a building and when you go into a lobby that the way you're registering is with an open book where you have to put your name, perhaps your driver's license, and then sign. And from there, that's about it. And then from audits and things like that, it's really hard for people to go back and to get that historical data in order to get that done. So visitors is something that we added. Visitor management, the Zoom Visitor Manager is it's a fairly new feature for Zoom, and where a host, so somebody from your organization can have that is licensed to have and invite people into your buildings, can either send a registration link where people can go ahead and self-register, and when they interact with the kiosk, they can go ahead and just hit this check-in button. When they go ahead and register from their own devices, they receive a QR code. And as you can see, our cameraman here is showing up. But here's where we go ahead and put the QR code to the camera. And then immediately they get checked in. What that does is that releases a chain it has a chain effect within your organization. We can go ahead and now notify not only the host, the person that invited that person to come in, but we also now get the receptionist to notify that there's somebody at a lobby that they need to perhaps escort, perhaps greet and offer something to them. And also, if you have a security manager or somebody that's in charge of security, they also get notifications that was coming in and out of that building. But we also have an ad hoc way to get those people registered. If they don't receive that link, if they just walk through that door, they're there to see, they're there unannounced. They can go ahead and put all their information, tell who the host is. They can also fill NDAs, or if they have ADA needs or anything of that nature, they can also put those needs and notify the people responsible to provide that, and then take a picture and then now get badge. Same way that we have here. So really, really useful. Visitor management is one of the fastest growing products for Zoom. The fact is, we have a lot of our customers, especially in government and in education, that are audited. They need to know who comes in through those doors a year later. Again, doing that with books, very, very hard, but doing that with a system where you just do a query and say, who was here on November 12 or November 14, at a certain time, immediately Zoom is able to give you either a window as to how many people were at the building, or just, again, the entire roster of visitors for the day. So really, really useful.
Now, again, we're still talking about guests, and there's one more box I want to talk about here, is that we're getting people who are coming in, need to have a receptionist, visitors that are coming in, but we also have people that are just going to come in for a few seconds because they have a box to drop off.
Yes.
So let's talk about delivery.
And we get a lot of those these days, right?
That's right.
So, you have your packages, you have the multiple different parcel companies that come and drop things off to your desk. But what do you do when those packages arrive and then you need to notify perhaps Craig that's in a whole different building, and you really don't feel like walking there, or perhaps you're shooting a chat, and you really need to make sure that those packages are accounted for as well, that there is not like, I have this box and then all of a sudden Craig picked it up or somebody else picked it up and nobody know where it went. So this is where we have delivery management. And delivery management allows for those people receiving those packages, whether it's at the shipping and receiving office or perhaps a receptionist, to go ahead and use their mobile devices, to use Zoom in order to log them in. Using AI, we're able to actually recognize those characters, match them against the directory of your company, and from there, go ahead and notify those users or those people that receive those packages that they have a package waiting for them. In this case, we went ahead and entered for Ed, a good friend of mine, Zoom, so Ed Giver. So Ed has a package that has arrived for him. As you can see, it is right here. So Edward Giver, it happens to be just a box of trail mix from Costco that just arrived for him to eat. And then from there, Ed can do two things. I can go ahead and mark this picked up, or if for any reason that package is not there, they can mark it as lost, and then they can now initiate an investigation. Again, here you also see the ability to add a delivery, and this is the console that the people that are adding those deliveries will see when they go ahead and receive a package on behalf of somebody else in the company. So, Craig, one of our latest features, we're very excited about it, and again, a lot of our customers are starting to use it and deploy it on the field.
So something that I want to mention, it's going to be a little bit of like a sort of a softball pitch question, right? Because this is something that we of course both know. But what I love about Zoom's platform of features is that something like deliveries is going to be available in all applications. You're going to see it on your desktop app. You're going to have it on your phone. But we also wanted to additionally add it to kiosk.
Right.
And why I love that segue is that I want to talk for actually a little bit of time and go very deep into this concept of Zoom workspace reservations, because I know that Zoom for several years now has spent a lot of time building this out. So let's talk about its functionality in kiosk. And then I kind of want us to envision just what this whole workspace is going to look like. So let's start with workspaces on kiosk, and then we're going to go even deeper after that.
So that's great. So, and it's worth mentioning too, even though we have all four features together here, Craig, you can deploy each one of these features individually or just a couple, depending on the type of space that you're looking to service. Well, workspace reservation is a feature that we added to the kiosk about 2 years ago. It is a product all on itself, right? So it's not an additional feature, even though it is a service for Zoom. Some of our customers have actually just bought workspace reservation standalone. But what it does is really starts to allow for those companies like ourselves that don't have the capacity to have 100% of our workforce in an office, in order for them to reserve spaces and in order for them to leverage the different share spaces, desks, and things that we have available for them. And then you can also categorize them, kind of create policy around how the spaces are being used. But more importantly, Craig, is what do we do after the fact, right? When all this information, as people are reserving and using these spaces, how are real estate managers, how are facilities managers then that use that information to either enhance, build brand new, or remodel the spaces,
or shrink spaces too, right?
Bases if they're underutilized. So workspace reservation. Here you're going to see a map, and this map is available on your mobile desktop, on your mobile client, or your desktop client, as well as you can make it part of an ad hoc experience when somebody just walks through the door. They forgot to reserve the space. Now they have to do it on one of these kiosks just because they're there and it's the easiest thing to do. Big difference between the desktop and the mobile client is that this is only reserving for the day of, because we assume they're just walking in and getting it done. With the mobile client and the desktop client, they can do it up to 6 months, 181 days that we support in order for them to do recurrent meetings. But as you can see here, we have the spaces in red. So everything that is shaped is actually a shared space, and everything that is in a little dot with the avatars, those are actually desks that are used by our by the employees that are getting that are coming into the space. Now, what else are we doing here? I want to just quickly note that we also added points of interest. So that way, when people are looking perhaps for a first aid kit, perhaps the bathroom, stairs, the elevator, they don't have to go and ask it all, around as to where things are at. They can just go ahead and ask. They can just go ahead and ask the map, and then immediately, not only they can tell you they know where they're at, but they can also get directions as to that point of interest from the point of entry of the space. So very, very simple for people that are moving around into different offices like you and I, to go ahead and if they go to a brand new office that perhaps they're not familiar with, to get that information firsthand. Now, if they wanted to reserve a shared space, and then now they need to see how that shared space looks like, perhaps the capacity. Here's where we have a space that is all Logitech. We have some of the Rally cameras in there. We understand that this is a triple screened space. It has intelligent director. It also includes the capacity. You can really just give a lot of intelligence to your users as to what's in the space. And then that also gives you searchable filters. If I need a triple screen space in this area, all I have to say is I need 3 screens, and immediately it gives me the option for three screens. So really, really useful. Again, now I can see that the space is available at a certain time. So if I'm going to go ahead and reserve, we can just go ahead into the calendar, reserve directly from here for the slot that I need, and then hit reserve. And then immediately it asks me, who's going to be reserving this space. So really, 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 very, very useful in order to give people information as to what was possible in this space. Here as well, we have another space that, again, a smaller space, dual screen, a rally bar in this space, instead of being available for 12 people, is ready for 10 people. So, Craig, super useful. It's something that we really, again, is something that has been getting deployed quite a bit at Zoom, and our customers absolutely love it because it really helps them understand the traffic and how their employees are behaving with the spaces.
So for our audience here, when it comes to Zoom workspace reservation, I think the thing that I love to tell about this story is it's not specific to Rallyboard 65. I think the beauty of having the Zoom ecosystem together with the Logitech portfolio and ecosystem is that experience for all employees as they go throughout the office, including at home, right? So imagine this. We talked about how something like Zoom Workspace Reservation is going to be available on your phone through your Zoom app. It's going to be available on your desktop computer through your Zoom app as well. And so maybe we've got Andrew sitting over here. Maybe Andrew's sitting at home and he's like, okay, I think I'm going to come into the office today. He may book it beforehand. He may pull out his phone and say, I'm going to book this room and this desk. Or again, you can also do it through your calendar invites as well, but I'm going to book before I come in. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he walks into the front, and then as we exit here, he decides to just book ad hoc from the kiosk. Or maybe we have multiple Rallyboard 65s positioned around the office. Maybe we've got this one either on the wall or on the cart at reception. Maybe we've got 4 or 5 of them around the office. So if Andrew enters from the side door, forgot to book, oh my gosh, I drove in, but I forgot to book my workspace for the day or my desk for the day. I come in, I use a Rallyboard 65 to do that. And then when you go to your desk, you see your Logitech Flex that's there. It has your name, so that desk is assigned to you. Maybe you've got a room that's booked for later. That room is also showing your booking. You walk into the room, you're using a Zoom room. Whether you have your laptop or not, it's that whole seamless experience where Zoom's not just providing that virtual conference meeting, but we like to say, the ad is Zoom all the way across, right? It's this full experience for employees, no matter where they are in the office.
Yeah, the whole idea is to make the room and the spaces an extension of you. So if you have to do really unnatural things in order to reserve and in order for you to use a space, most likely people will feel discouraged, and maybe they just start, adopting bad behaviors, like just crashing into a room, even though it's been reserved, or doing things that are, again, a little disruptive to the business. But when you have an easy way for them to not only look for a space, but go ahead and reserve and then secure the space for them, it makes it very simple for them to, have their own space that is theirs for that hour or two, and then for us to capture that data and understand how these spaces are being used and how we need to build perhaps future spaces.
So Zoom Workspace Reservation, it is, besides Zoom as a basic video meeting client that I'm using in rooms and at home, it's really one of the features that I've come to love really over the last couple of years since all this stuff's been introduced.
Incredible. A lot of value to this. And if you already have workplace enterprise packages, most likely you already own this feature.
Okay, so we've got Rallyboard 65 in kiosk mode. Let's talk about Rallyboard 65 in one of the other deployments that we've seen quite often. So we use this term Zoom Room. Zoom Room typically means, okay, I've got a room, it's video deployed, I've got either my Rally Bar, my Rally Bar Huddle, my Rally Bar Mini there. But one of the concepts that I've really started to see is this concept of the Zoom space. And really what we're starting to see, especially as offices have this many people, maybe this much room in the office, is meeting rooms are typically, you even saw in our kiosk demo here, typically meeting rooms are starting to get booked up all day. And so being able to have a space where people can walk up and have a quick meeting, whether that's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, in an open space, we wanted to have a device that really facilitates that experience. And so that's where Rallyboard 65 comes into play. Now, there are going to be other use cases that we're going to talk about, but I wanted to start with open spaces and why a device that's an all-in-one device on a cart is really amazing and beautiful for that space. So, Carlo, let's actually bring the camera around here. And I want to kind of focus in on some of the features that we saw previously, but I want to double click on some of them. So I'm really big on the screen here, but I want to focus in right up here. And so Rallyboard 65, in addition to having a 65-inch touchscreen, Felipe had also commented on the responsiveness of that touchscreen as well. So it's actually what we call an IR-based touchscreen, or infrared, which means that we've got IR blasters all the way across. And that's really what aids that super responsive touchscreen experience. Other folks use capacitive touch. We decided to use IR because we really wanted it to be responsive. But as we focus in on the top here, we've got our speaker system here on the top. We've got microphones built in here. And we'll turn this on in just a few minutes, but we've got our camera that has an automatic privacy shutter that's built into it. Now, when that camera turns on, the picture quality that you're going to see is going to be through a camera that has a 1-inch sensor. And it's really one of our most advanced cameras from a build standpoint yet. So you're going to see a lot more brilliance when it comes to color, and we're really excited and proud of that. But in addition to that, as part of the build and the engineering of the device, we also included 2 tweeters in the speaker system. That's not something that I like to typically call that out because it shows the attention to detail that we had because we knew this was going to be in an open space. So when you're in an open space, it's actually a little bit harder. Science, I guess, has shown, or our engineers told me, it's actually a little bit harder to hear some of the higher noises or the higher frequencies. And so the tweeters are meant to sort of call that out so that even in an open space, you're really getting that good sound quality as a participant sitting in the open space.
Awesome.
Okay, let's bring the camera around. I want to show some stuff on the backside here. Now, Felipe, let's talk about Zoom whiteboarding a bit. We're going to do it as we may do it as a demo.
We may do it.
We may do it as a demo in a bit if we have time. But we've got 2 styluses. So Felipe's got a stylus. I've got a stylus. Fun fact, the styluses actually have additional tips that are built into them as well. There's no batteries in these. They're just going to work. Again, another beauty of having the IR-based touchscreen. But when we think about Zoom Whiteboard, right, we wanted to have the ability for people to be able to brainstorm and collaborate and have something to draw on and kind of work together in a meeting. Let's talk about why, I know this has been around for a long time, but let's talk about that and Rallyboard 65 for a second.
So, even though Whiteboard has been around for a while, and applications similar to Zoom Whiteboard have been around for a while, I think the uniqueness of Zoom Whiteboard is the fact that we keep evolving the product to be better and better and better. Now, the use of AI has been huge for Zoom in order to really give you a good starting point when you're starting a project, a whiteboard project. So instead of you having to spend 20, 30 minutes ideating, kind of getting things off the ground, you can ask Zoom AI companion to say, hey, Zoom, this is some of the basic needs that I have in order for you to create perhaps a mind map, a flow chart, a pie chart, something like of that nature, and then give those pretty basics to Zoom, and Zoom immediately go ahead and get you started with the graph, and then from there you can start editing. So the use of AI and all the other tools in order for you to start creating to create your projects and continue, whether it is for project management or for school, really puts us at a whole different category when it comes to the product. Plus, we're also leveraging all the different products within the platform. So this is not just a whiteboard. This is also a Zoom room, so you can conference. This is also an ambient device that can also detect what's happening in the environment. So a lot of different things that you can have from this device in order to get your investment, your return on the investment, is that this is not just doing one thing; it's doing many things for the space.
So a couple things I wanted to call out on this side. So I forgot to mention earlier, I said Rallyboard on a cart, but it's actually the Rallyboard 65 cart. So we, as Logitech, has developed this cart, and you'll see exactly why we wanted to have the engineering sort of masterminds do that here in a second. But as part of this, we've actually got 2 accessory ports that are here on the side. These accessory ports are meant for things like this, where you can put some cable spooling on there. They're pretty easy to attach some additional accessories to. And if I pull up the panel here, Carlo, if we can just bring in the camera a little bit, I want to show some of the ports here just to show the, of course, cable management that we've always built in every single device. And if we look here, we're always going to have all the same options. So we're powering the device, we're connecting into internet, but if you see, we actually have a line out. Want to have an accessibility option for it. We have USB-C on there, of course, for BYOD. We have a couple HDMI ports here as well, but we also have 3 USB-A ports for expansion as well. And if we look here, it's a little bit hard to see this, but it's important to note that we've designed the cart to not bend wires. And you're going to see why that's going to be important in about 15 seconds here, right after I put these covers back on, is that one of the best things about Rallyboard 65 on the Rallyboard 65 cart is the ability to move the device around and also flip the device. So Felipe, we have a number of scenarios where we need to have modular spaces, right? And actually, this room is a perfect example. Every single chair and every single table in this room is on wheels. And what that means is that facilities and our teams are constantly moving these tables and chairs around for different types of meetings.
Yep.
And so the ability to have a device that really does a couple things, and I want to really talk about a couple of these things in these rooms, is going to be important. So first, let's talk about companion mode.
Yes. Companion mode is probably one of the most exciting features that we released in the last 12 to 18 months. It has been evolving, and we actually keep creating a much better experience. But what it is we create AV connections over the cloud. So what that means to you is that if you have a device, a Zoom room in the front of the room, or perhaps you have a device that has a room that has absolutely no technology, you can wheel one of these devices, sync them, or multiple of these devices, sync them into one connection, and then immediately all these devices start acting as one. So if you need a display in the back of a room and you don't have physical connectivity, you can bring one of these devices connected over Zoom, and then now you have an additional screen, an additional camera, and now you have also an annotation board where you can whiteboard or perhaps annotate over presentations. Let's say you have an open quad, you're a school. And then you need perhaps 3 screens in order to service multiple different, or 4 screens, because we can support up to 5 screens total. You can bring all this Rallyboard 65s, put them in that space, provision them into Zoom, sync them over the cloud, and then now you have one device that has 5 screens, and they're all interacting in unison as one system. But then now you're servicing multiple different vantage points of the room, and then you're not leaving anybody behind with perhaps the rigid AV that is just maybe serving certain areas. So you can now become very flexible. So either you're building ad hoc spaces, or you're building spaces where you cannot really have a lot of wiring technology. Or you just need to complement a room perhaps with an additional screen or an additional camera. No better way to do it with a touch device like the Rallyboard 65 that you can just bring in, sync it over the cloud, and then immediately you have the results that you were looking for. So we'll tell you a little bit more. I know that we're doing another new and now next year. I think we're going to be doing, we're going to be making a splash with that one.
That's right. That's right.
We won't ruin it for you.
So we were kind of having this debate before the session where we said, so should we show companion mode in this room, because this room is also a Zoom room, but I wanted to be able to show off Rallyboard 65's camera system in the meeting, and I didn't want to have to input the code or have to join the meeting. Like during this whole thing, I wanted to be safe. So this is actually in our meeting. You're going to see it, but I'll just kind of explain it just for a second. This was provisioned to be a Zoom room. Right here on the bottom left-hand corner, there was just a button that said switch to companion mode for Zoom room. I could just take the sharing key that was right there. And then again, like Felipe said, we now have a dual screen system, or we now have multiple cameras that are in the room. So really fancy way of just wheeling something in. And again, in a space like this that's truly modular, being able to have an ultra flexible device.
I love this feature, Craig, because I see customers that in the past had perhaps like historical buildings and things like that, where they cannot have a lot of infrastructure, they cannot run cables in. this feature has really made people's lives very, very easy, and they're able to deploy many of these systems all over the place.
Okay, now let's talk about probably the feature that is always the funnest and the most fancy, is that when you have a board like this, and we're going to demo that here in this environment, we wanted the ability for users to be able to move the device from place to place. So easy, right? We've got a cart here, we've got the wheels on the bottom, you can lock the wheels. But depending on the type of meeting you're having, so one of the things that I like to say is, let's imagine you're standing here at the whiteboard. You want to make sure that the camera is above, because you don't want what I call like belt buckle shots or, below the waist shots, right? You want to make sure it's up there. But we wanted a way for users to simply and easily take the device, and if they want to have a sit-down meeting where they just want a standard virtual conference meeting, just take the device. I didn't have to hold it and make sure that it didn't slam. So we've even got springs in the system to make sure that a one-handed, single-handed rotation can happen. And what's now happening, so Carla, if we bring the camera over this direction, we can see that now the camera is below the display here, right? So we're bringing it right around. We can see, so now the camera's below, right? And so the idea of being able to do both, where we have it either above the screen or below the screen, is going to be important depending on the type of meeting you're having. But the cart enables that type of flexibility.
I like that for, two things, right? So when you have the camera at about 6 feet of finished floor, one thing that is very obvious, when you're whiteboarding, you definitely want to be at eye level. And then obviously, people like me, 5'9", 5'10", or people in the 6 feet range, they can again whiteboard and then still interact with the people with the audience, with the people that are in the remote end. But also from depth, if you're in a deep space, you can also move the camera a little further. Again, you need that height in order to make that shot. So that's perfect. Right. But then what do we do with tables like this, right? And that's exactly why I think is so appealing to have the camera that goes from 6 feet, 6 feet of finished floor to about 3 feet of finished floor, in order to cater to both applications, whether we're sitting down or we're standing up or in a deeper room.
Okay, before we show the feed from Rallyboard 65, let's talk about one more new and now concept, is that if we look on the left here, and Rallyboard 65 has environmental sensing that's built into it. We have 6 different measures that we're gathering, things like what we call VOC, or volatile organic compounds, particulate matter, CO2, temperature in the room. So we have that built into the device. But we've also introduced a new device called Logitech Spot that's meant for really a couple things. One is environmental sensing, so those same measures are going to be taken by this device. But this is also going to be beautiful for a good amount of occupancy information and helping with things like auto book and release. Right. So one of the stories that I love to tell where Logitech as devices really begin to complement the Zoom story is, we talked about before how we have this many employees, but we may have this amount of space. How is it that we can maximize the use of that space? And one of the biggest things that we see is that a lot of meeting rooms go booked but are unused.
Correct.
And so let's imagine that we had a device in, say, like a phone booth, right? And maybe we don't have a video conference device in there. So auto book and release, this concept I'm talking about, is going to work with video devices. But it's also going to work with Spot. Let's imagine that Felipe walks into, he's got his computer, and it's a phone booth that doesn't have a rally bar huddle. Spot is going to detect his presence and is then going to auto book the room. So when somebody's walking by, they can say like, oh, I see the tap scheduler is appearing red. This room must not be available for me. But the more powerful part is when he leaves. If he leaves the meeting early, he had an hour's meeting, but he left after 30 minutes, it's going to detect that his presence is not there anymore, and it's going to release the room. If Felipe doesn't show up to the meeting, it can also release the room after a certain amount of time, and the administrator can set what that time is. But the super powerful one is, let's imagine this happens often. You accidentally booked a recurring meeting at 9 to 10 a.m.
Yep,
every single Tuesday. We can also even set a function where after a certain amount of no-shows to that meeting, we release the entire series. So that's where something like Spot really becomes powerful from an occupancy standpoint. But while Felipe is in the room, we're also going to gather the environmental data too. Yep. So that's coming into Zoom Dashboard. That's really, I think, where some of that integration comes in. Let's talk a little bit about that for a second.
So again, one of the things is, how do we start managing spaces and understanding how people are behaving, how they're using them? So having not only a device that has all that capability built in, and it's a multi-purpose device like the Rallyboard 65, to your point, what do we do with spaces that don't really have any technology? They're just perhaps focus areas, little huddle rooms that people just used to do things in person. This is where the Spot comes in. Again, everything that you just mentioned goes into how do we set policy for our spaces. As an administrator, you want to make sure that let's say somebody just went to do a bio break and then came back 10 minutes later, and then perhaps the room was released just because it's just what the system does. We interact with Logitech and with the spot and the sensors in order to really start setting up policies saying, okay, maybe we give 15 minutes after somebody departs that room, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And if we don't see anybody that shows up, we go ahead and release, or you can just say the minute somebody steps out, it releases. So it's all up to you to build policies, but all that data we're starting to gather. And just like we did with visitor management, where we can see who's coming in and out of that building, now everybody's, your facilities manager and your real estate managers, or even yourself, you can understand how those little phone booths are being used, how those hotel rooms are being used, how the large conference rooms are being leveraged, and how the amount of traffic, and just really getting a good understanding. When you don't have eyes in there, you still have the spot in there just doing the homework for you and telling you what's happening. A little bit of a tattletale, but it's cool.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do right now. It's going to be a little bit of an awkward silence. We're going to mute our microphones here, and then we're going to turn off the feed from this camera. And what I actually want to do is turn on the microphone and the feed from Rallyboard 65 so you can see exactly what it sounds like and looks like from this device. So bear with us. It'll be about maybe 5-7 seconds right now, and we're going to move over to this space. The feed that you're seeing now and what you're hearing, and you can hear us okay, is coming from Rallyboard 65. And we've got Andrew sitting here. He's been one of our tech supports here. And actually, I want to do some introductions since we're sitting here. Carlos should come over here as well. We don't even need to bring the camera. I think we'll use it for the rest. But we are here at a Zoom New and Now webinar. Giancarlo here. So this is Giancarlo. He's our alliance manager when it comes to our Zoom Alliance. So him and Natalia, the whole organization of this, our communication with Zoom, basically our production of this today, this is really thanks to these two folks. But we've also got Andrew, who's from Zoom, but now with Logitech and part of our Alliance's Zoom GTM team as well. So it's a big Zoom family that's here today, and it's really great to have you folks with us. But what we're showing here, again, is we're showing Rallyboard 65, showing you here in this meeting. What I want to do is I want to show a couple different camera controls here. So I'm going to first put us in auto framing. And again, we talked about that 1-inch sensor. So you're seeing that there's really some brilliance of color here. The browns are really, the tans are really coming through. Our skin tones are really coming through. There's a lot of really, again, natural colors that are coming through. And that's the beauty of, again, of that 1-inch sensor that's here on Rallyboard 65. But the other part that I really want to call out is that we've spent a lot of time on our sound algorithms. So the beauty of Rally Bar Huddle, Rally Bar Mini, and Rally Board is that even when you're in an open space, even when you're in a meeting room and there's distractions that are happening on the outside and there's maybe noises, HVAC noises, mouse clicks, etc., we're actually going to block a lot of that out so that you can get a clear voice, almost similar when we talked about the headsets. We want to make sure that the voices in the room really come through clearly.
Craig, I just have to say, it's raining cats and dogs and it's really loud in this room, but I don't think you guys are hearing it. So
right. And let's go ahead and do this. So maybe folks, why don't you reintroduce yourselves, and I'm going to kind of do some noises here on the side to just kind of show what some of this cancellation looks like.
Yeah, sure. So as Craig mentioned, I'm an Alliance Marketing Manager for Zoom at Logitech. So I've been in charge I've been on this role for the past 4 years, and yeah, happy to support you guys with Zoom.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Andrew here, and great to be a part of this session. Great part to be a Logitech and Zoom partnership.
Awesome. So with Right Sound 2, that's really the collection of those sound algorithms. They're going to do a number of different things. First, even if I'm sitting here, which is not that further away from where Giancarlo is standing, but let's imagine even rooms that are a little bit deeper than this. What we're actually going to do is we're going to level out the volumes of speakers so that then again, that's not a distraction. We're also going to eliminate a lot of those noises like mouse clicks, keyboard clicks, HVAC noises, loud rain that's happening on the outside. And again, the purpose of that is so that you can hear clearly. Yep. But what I want to do next is if the four of us can go to the other side, I'm actually going to flip this board and bring it to the other side to show the power of having a level camera height, especially as you move tables. Now, I know that this is not a standard use. Oh, I have no chair. Let me get a chair. Let me bring a chair over here. I know that this is not a standard use case when it comes to having a low table and a high table that's just like this. But the reason why we set it up like this when we do these webinars is just to show the power of having the camera above or below the display. When the camera is below the display, like you're seeing right here, now you're getting a level height. You're not getting that security camera style footage because it's too high. Yep. And again, it's just about reducing distractions and giving people a really great conference experience.
And again, if you have it in a mobile cart, you can cater to both applications, right? So preventing that bird's eye view when you are in a smaller space and you have to bring one of these boards, you can just flip it, and then now you have this eye level connection with the board. So where I'm speaking to you. I'm not just trying to. You're just not looking for me from above. We actually feel like we're in the same space.
Okay, now the last thing I'll say is I know that Felipe and I still have these microphones attached to us, but the sound is not coming from this, right? Like the sound is not coming from this, it's coming from Rallyboard 65. So just want to make sure that that proof point comes through, that what you're seeing, what you're hearing is all Rallyboard 65. Okay, Natalia, I know we have like 9 minutes, 8 minutes left. We'll be able to hear you now that we're on this system. I think there were probably some questions or comments that came up in the chat. We can talk about a few of them here while we still have some time.
Yes, there are some interesting questions here. I try to answer some of them live that were a little bit less elaborate, but here's one. Any campus map direction features? And this came up as you guys were showing some of the directions when showcasing Rallyboard 65.
Any map direction feature. So today we only are able to map the one floor and give directions from different entry points on that same floor. We're looking to evolve that to like multi-floor, multi-building type of scenario, but nothing right now in the books for that. We're concentrating in other development cycles. As soon as that becomes part of the effort, we'll definitely we'll do a new session in order to notify that. But it is present. We understand that some people do have multi-building campuses and multi-floor campuses. So we're definitely looking into doing a more of a multi-floor experience later on.
This is what some of these sessions are for, free focus groups. So anyway, the other question that I thought was really interested in, can you toggle between Zoom rooms and kiosk mode, or are you dictated by a specific mode?
That's a great question. No, it is a provisioning profile, so that puts it in that permanent mode. So kiosk will always be a kiosk. No way to make that a multiple provisioning profile system. It has to be one or the other. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question here, it would be great to know whether there are any features like Zoom's intelligent director that would allow you to use multiple cameras alongside the interactive whiteboard based on select person in the room using device. Example, if there's a user facing the whiteboard camera, it switches to that camera. If the user then turns to face the audience in the meeting room, it switches to another camera showing the user in front of the whiteboard. Otherwise, Zoom viewers cannot see whether the user is pointing to a specific item on the display.
I would say stay tuned. As far as camera, how we're going to be managing that is something that we are looking into. Today, there are some ways to have the multiple camera experience. And today, with Intelligent Director, you have the +1 feature that allows you to again have the 3 cameras that are using AI and machine learning in order to kind of frame and create new quadrants for those participants. But then we have that other that additional camera that is not part of that AI experience that can still do some AI production rules as far as tracking and following that presenter. That if that person is in front of a whiteboard, that +1 camera can actually give that particular vantage point and again give that personal. But again, we're looking as to how do we make that more immersive, and how do we enable things like machine learning to have multiple camera switches. The good news is we also have other products, and Craig, you and I talked about this. If you guys haven't heard of the Logitech Streamline, take a look at it. Where I think we're going to be doing a session on that pretty soon. But then that addresses a lot of that feature a lot of things that you have on that question as well.
And I think for audience, I think it's something that I do like to tell customers and partners as they visit is there's really a couple schools of thought on this too. And I think the additional school of thought is important to note. As you have cameras that have stationary views where there isn't necessarily an automatic switch, that does actually provide a lot more power to the user to curate the experience that they want, right? So of course, as we know in Zoom, users have the ability to pin and move their tiles around. And one of the things that I personally like to do down in our Irvine office is I like to provide the ability of people to say, okay, if someone's presenting, maybe I want to pin that for myself, or maybe I don't. Maybe I want to see all 3 feeds at the same time. The ability for the user to make that decision, I think, is also important too. I think a lot of times we try to just go to immediate, like, okay, well, how can we make sure that all of this automatic stuff can happen at the same time? And I'm not saying that's not a good use case. I'm saying that that's one. But I also think the ability for the user to pick what works best for them is also equally important as well.
I agree. I agree with you. Having the user to have a lot of freedom is key.
Let's see, next question. What is the coverage for the mic and camera for a deeper room? In a deeper room, can you add mics? By the way, audio is great for how much they are moving around. So kudos to everyone for that.
Awesome. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to answer the question facing this direction, right? So you can also see how right sound 2 is going to pick me up, even though I'm not talking directly at the microphone. But the answer to the first question is, as of right now, Rallyboard 65 in a room is using Rallyboard 65's microphone system. I have nothing to report in terms of additional mic pods at this time, but really stay tuned. Now, for the second question in terms of camera pickup, and I'll turn back this direction here, is we really are going to look at scenarios like this for open spaces where we're probably about, I think, Felipe, you're probably about 8 feet away from the camera.
I would say.
So I would say from 0 to about 12 feet, you're going to get a really nice visual pickup just like this. When you're in rooms, same thing. It's typically rooms of that size where Rallyboard 65 tends to perform best right now.
Thank you. Next question. How many Zoom Room Companion devices can be paired with a Zoom Room?
Up to 4 devices in one whiteboard. So you can have up to 3 full Zoom Room Companions in one whiteboard, or you can have one main rally board, and then again the 3 and the plus the whiteboard. So you can have up to 5 touchscreens if you wanted to have 5 whiteboards. So very versatile. There's a lot of capability there. But if you just have a regular Zoom room, you can have up to 4 companion devices in there.
Next question. Questions keep coming. This is awesome. What are the room limits and parameters of the camera and microphones? Can it pick up sound and video cleanly at 30 feet?
30 feet, Rallyboard 65 is not meant to be in a room of 30 feet.
Yeah.
If you have a room of 30 feet, there's a lot other parts of our portfolio that are very important to look at. And that's, again, what we were talking about before. We are not positioning Rallyboard 65 to be the all-in-one solution for every single thing. The beauty of the Logitech portfolio, and really where I think we perform well, is that our portfolio is able to be mixed and matched across the board. If you have a room that's 30 feet, I'm actually going to suggest, well, it depends what the room looks like, but I'm actually going to suggest to put a rally bar, a site, maybe even dual sites. As you saw, we recently announced the ability to do 2 sites, 1 daisy chain to the first if it's a boardroom. Or, as Felipe had mentioned, putting multiple rally cameras maybe positioned with the Streamline kit so we can category connect them and then have different streams in different part of the rooms even mounted. So again, depending on the type of room configuration you have, you can add mic pods to that room. Again, if you have a rally bar mini, rally bar huddle. But I would not promote Rallyboard 65 to be the one the all-in-one solution for that particular room.
That's a little too deep.
Awesome. I think we have room for one more question. Which mic currently is picking you up, the room mic or the rally board mic?
There's no room mic. So this is an all-in-one system. The microphone's in Rallyboard 65, the speaker system's in Rallyboard 65, the camera system's there. It's all coming from here. So we're hearing Natalia from this from the speaker system, and what I'm basically pointing out here is what's picking us up. But there's nothing. There's no microphone. Again, these are not working. We've muted those. This is Logitech Spot. Yeah, this is not. Yeah, so it's all coming from there.
Thank you, everyone, for all the insight that you provided today. We're very excited to hear from all of you. Next time, I will join you because you seemed like you were having a lot of fun. So I always love that about our solutions. Thank you to everyone that joined us today. Like I said, we will follow up with the recording so you guys can listen to everything that was said here today, and please feel free to share that or sign up for the series so you can get the latest and greatest as we come. And we have exciting sessions that are coming in next year. So if we don't connect again on this session for Zoom, happy holidays to everyone, and thank you for joining.